So, folks, I want to talk about the Coof, such as it is, because if you've been sorta hazily paying attention, you may scratch your head a bit if you can bypass the remaining elements of scaremongering. If you've been paying close attention, the tone is noticeably different. So Joe Biden, with regards to the Coof, came out and said there's no federal solution that gets solved at a state level. Congratulations, you stupid old codger. It's taken you a year to arrive at a conclusion us sane people have been at for almost 2 bloody years. Now, I seem to remember him tweeting out. I say him tweeting out, obviously it's one of his staffers, because I suspect Biden doesn't even know what the internet is, let alone Twitter, about how Trump doesn't have a plan to deal with the virus, but he does. Obviously, that was smoke and mirror BS, and anyone who fell for that is a gullible moron. Joe does not have a plan. He never had one to begin with. That was just phony election time talk. Where and how the hell that daft git was going to get a plan, Lord only knows. He was kept in his basement like the demented black sheep of the family for most of the election campaign. If a career politician tells you they have a plan, you can bet your ass it's more hollowed out than Hunter Biden's nasal cavity. But I've noticed something with the Democrats. When they talk about policy, they always try and sell you the end result, as if it's rock-solid ironclad and nothing could ever possibly go wrong. They have zero concept of unintended consequences. They have the mindset of a 2-year-old. I think the coup variance has shown the Dems are about as ill-prepared for explanation as someone who was just caught mid-wanking. I don't know if it's because their voters have short attention spans and they're idiots. They are. Or politicians themselves are clueless imbeciles or maliciously greedy pricks. Hard to tell these days, so let's just call it a toss-up. But you can see it in their cities. Every Democrat city is a hellhole, and the last 2 years of exodus from their states has only amplified this up to 11. The worst cases have been New York, California, and Illinois, all very blue states. California has seen a net loss of citizens for the first time in the state's history. I can't figure out why. Where did they all go? Oh yeah, Florida, Texas, Arizona, Tennessee, all red states. Geez, I wonder why. There is no blue state anyone can point to and say, oh look, here is your progressive nirvana. They all suck because all their policy proposals stem from dim-witted academics who don't get feedback mechanisms from the real world. Apparently the ivory tower doesn't get Wi-Fi. But the big question is, why has Biden said this? Or rather, why are his handlers pulling this stunt? And why now, of all times? It's a good question because the timing seems really, really stupid. My theory is someone went to Biden and said, Joe, listen. Joe. Oh, look. Ice cream. Anyway, Joe, your polling numbers are in the toilet and you need to diffuse responsibility. Obviously, at this point, seeing as Joe has the mind of a toddler, he's just staring at the ice cream like a dribbling idiot. This is the same thing with the mishandling of the testing kits. Now, I'm going to sound a bit conspiratorial, and this is just my 2 cents, so take it with a grain of salt. There is a part of me that thinks that was botched deliberately. I've said before, what they do is they take the most fear-inducing variable of the variant and amplify it in the media. And if you're trying not to stir people into a panic again, and instead try and taper off the pandemic, you would try and reduce the testing capacity in this case. It almost feels like the damage was done too well, and now they're going, oh fuck, we have to roll this back somehow. Because the federal mandates are looking likely to get shot down in the courts. He said they should get handled at the state level. The CDC just came out and said over 75% of the Coof deaths involve individuals with at least 4 comorbidities, and now they're finally saying fat asses are in a much greater risk of the Coof. This is all coming out in the last couple of weeks, and I don't believe for a second that that is a coincidence. The tone is far too noticeably different. I've seen one cope-heavy article claiming it was out of context and Biden is saying the federal government must do more, which is bullshit. He ran on claiming he has a plan and he can't relegate it to the individual states as soon as he gets into office. He would look impotent. And also like he's copying Trump, which he called lacking a plan. So let's look at this from a logical perspective, shall we? Everything he's tried so far has failed. Federally, it's been a disaster. The mandates have been shot down in the Fifth Circuit, and seeing as the vaccinated can spread it with a highly new transmissible variant, this makes no difference whatsoever. Case in point, look at New York. I might be out of the loop in the last year, but his only solution that I have seen has been more vaccinations. I have not seen him mention a single other medication or preventative treatment. And has anyone else noticed, natural immunity is nowhere in the conversation at all. That is long gone. He's woefully unpopular, and he's been a complete failure of a buffoon as president. The idea that after the last year of nothing but else Biden has accumulated, he needs to do more at the federal level is a strategy that can only be concocted in the minds of the most blue partisan window licker imaginable. This is quite a different stance from his "I'm gonna shut down the virus" BS shtick he was spouting some time ago. He's a career politician who is known for being an idiot. He can't even talk without fumbling over a pre-prepared speech on the teleprompter. He is a nest of harpies swarming him the moment he goes off the cuff for more than 2 seconds. He is entirely controlled by those around him who have no idea what the hell to do or what would happen in the case of variants. Lockdowns, yeah, they don't work. Masks, they don't work either. Shots. How is alcohol? Oh, wait, you mean the thing. No, that doesn't work either. Boosters. Nope. Yeah, exactly. By the way, that is the sound of Biden's broken brain loading. There's an old saying, prevention is better than cure. Well, when your preventative measures involve pissing off parents, destroying the economy, messing with people's freedom of movement, ignoring all of the psychological damage of removing human contact, and then leaving the next generation with a soul-crushing amount of debt, all which does absolutely fuck all to curb the spread of the virus, it turns out the prevention method doesn't work so well here. The reason I said the timing seems really stupid is if you look at all of what Biden has done, all of his failures, the Coof response is the thing that he's failed at the least, according to polling anyway, which should also show you how terrible a president he is. So if this gets dropped somehow, it's going to draw attention to other issues that he's doing worse on and he's made no attempt to solve, at least not without more spending, which is just going to make it worse. The most generous explanation that I can think of is that this is the most publicly noticeable issue, at least in the minds of the strategists. And if it can be solved, such as it is, it might bolster the Democratic approval in time for the midterms. I have my doubts on that. This is why I keep saying it has to be more malevolence than incompetence, because my mind keeps saying you cannot be this stupid. This is a risky strategy because the original federal intervention was never going to work, which is why they're trying to pass the buck to the Supreme Court. Not that he is doing anything as the supposed commander-in-chief, he's just an old bag of brittle bones in an empty suit, also describes his wife. He's essentially living in an episode of The Truman Show. His entire life is completely orchestrated by outside forces. I legitimately believe that he doesn't know he's supposed to be the president. I God honestly believe that. He has no idea what is going on in the country. He just reads it off the teleprompter. Case in point when he reads off the supposed successes of the administration. Or when he said, let's go Brandon to the caller. He had no idea what that meant, and it's been around for months now. And now he's just, whoops, decided to drop this ball of a promise for 3 main reasons as far as I can tell. 1, the federal intervention actually does nothing but piss people off, and you can see it in the states that went the closest akin to Biden's mandates. They don't work. 2, because they don't work, he needs to shirk responsibility ASAP. And 3, he's got more deaths on his hands than Trump did, despite the vaccine rollout and another year of information, which should tell you something about the effectiveness of those vaccines. So he's just trying to save face. For reasons I don't quite understand. He comes off like someone who doesn't give a crap about how this will affect the midterms or even his own presidency. Again, he governs, and I use that term extremely loosely, like someone who has no contact with the outside world and is in charge of absolutely nothing. It almost looks like Biden is caught between 2 sets of handlers, the progressives and the corporate Dems, constantly yanking his attention back and forth, and both of their ideas are terrible and the polls show it. What I'm interested in is how this is going to impact the midterm, seeing as Biden has essentially tossed the states to the wolves and said, yeah, I'm out, you're on your own, and washed his hands of the situation. Individual states have to take the brunt, and if the massive influx of people into red states escaping progressive hellholes are anything to go by, we might see an acid casualty level of spin and obfuscation in the coming months, so look out for that in the headlines. All we have to do is look at the red states versus the blue states with the COVID responses, and the red states are significantly better off than the blue states in almost every available metric. Everyone who's clued in knows why the media is attacking the red states. They are terrified of a populist or, heaven forbid, Trump from running again, because they know they are going to get annihilated in the coming midterms. And a heavy red Congress, coupled with the return of Orange Man in 2024, is giving them sleepless nights already. They have a massive amount of problems, all of which are self-inflicted. They have no way forward, they don't have a majority, and Democrats are already bailing out little over a year into this dumpster fire of an administration. Ooh, what fun it is. And that's all for today. Until next time.